So after watching Looper, McGruber, Corky Romano, and even that really cool Christmas episode of News Radio where Jimmy James gives his entire staff, except Matthew, a brand new Mazda Miata, I decided it's time for me to own one. This is a first-gen 94 Miata. This is the package C, which has everything except for the ABS and automatic transmission. The package C could be ordered with a Torsen limited slip differential, which it does have, in addition to the factory luggage rack, which makes the car almost look like a Chris Craft boat when the top is down. I bought this car because I always wanted a first-gen Miata, and finding one up in New England in this condition is pretty hard because a lot of people like to drive them early on in the season when there's still snow and salt on the road, and late in the season when the roads aren't as nice. So they tend to rust out and they get beat up. A lot of them, after they were about 10 years old or so, were sold at used car lots, and 16-year-old kids would snap them up and put go-fast parts on them and stickers and just beat the crap out of them. But to find one in this condition, which I was told was owned by an elderly couple, of course every car that someone's trying to sell was owned by an elderly couple, a story that I ended up refuting. I actually managed to prove that the seller was not truthful with the car's ownership history, but that's irrelevant here. So this one had every option that I wanted, and I paid a little bit more than I wanted to for it, but I was willing to because it was the exact car that I wanted. I love the classic red. This is a single stage paint that Mazda used on the first gen Miatas, but after a certain year they went to a clear coat finish. It's hard to find a car, a modern car with single stage paint that still looks this good. Some of it has been redone. The car was hit, at least in the rear. The trunk lid is the only body panel that's been replaced. And it was replaced with a factory trunk lid. It still has the Mazda logo on it, but it does not have the VIN number, so it's been replaced. The hood is original, the fenders are original, the doors, all of these parts still have the VIN number on them, and there's no evidence of any bodywork ever being done except for a minor respray. These are the original wheels. These were used from 94 to 97, I believe. In 99, they skipped a year. I don't think there was any 98s, but in 99, they went to a wheel that I really like. It looks like a Porsche wheel, but these look pretty nice too. And the earlier wheels were designed to mimic the aftermarket wheels that were common on some of the old British roadsters. The Miata, at least the first-gen Miata, was designed to almost bring back the classic Lotus Elan. And if you look at a Lotus Elan, you'll see a lot of similarities in body lines and curves. But I wanted the first generation, but I wanted a good year for the first gen. This car just happened to be that one. Being a 94, it was the last year for the functional oil pressure gauge. You'll notice it still measures in PSI rather than being something of an idiot light gauge. And yes, it works. It also was the first year for the 1.8 liter motor and the first year for the additional chassis bracing. It also was the last year for the classic two-piece sun visors. After that, they went to a single-piece visor. And it just happens to have the right color combination. I love red over tan. It just looks very nice. Now, you'll notice there's a scratch on the instrument cluster cover. I did that today. That was me. That was my fingernail. I was turning the wheel and I had my finger extended and I nicked the damn thing. But I will figure something out with that. That just really pisses me off. But that was me. There's not a scratch on this car. It had a few stone chips, which I filled in with a GM red. Actually, I'll show you guys what color that was because other Miata owners might want to know. If you were to touch up the paint on this car, if you need to get a can of touch-up paint, this Duplicolor, it is a GM code. Where is it? Pretty close match. It's as close as you're going to get from an auto parts store touch-up paint. It's AGM 0388, and it's pretty damn close. You would have a hard time finding anything closer. So, anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more about the car's mechanical condition, but I want to talk to you, because I have the trunk open. It did have the wrong battery in it. Somebody put a Honda battery in this car, which didn't mount properly. So somebody must have taken a hard turn, and the battery slid into the quarter panel in the back here and caused this little ding, which sucks, but that's life. Oh well. But I replaced, that was the first thing I did. I noticed that was the incorrect battery, so I took it out. Not only was it not the right size, but it was the wrong type. The battery that Mazda specified is an AGM battery, absorbed glass matte battery. And it was a very particular size. This is actually a lawnmower battery, essentially. But it has to be vented to the atmosphere through these rubber hoses. Otherwise, you'll wind up with corrosion in the back here. But this is the battery that Mazda specified. And as a matter of fact, the part number is Miata. But again, to make that incorrect battery fit, they removed the battery tie down. So I had to order a new one from the dealer. A lot of fun. Because the Miata has a very particular sized battery, and yeah, you can't just use any tie down in this car. But the AGM batteries are spill proof, and that's why they were specified for these cars. It does have the original, and this is the original spare, and it's never been used. I took it out, and I found that it still has all the rubber nubs all around it. It should be replaced because of its age. I don't think I will trust it. It's a 60-pound inflation pressure on this. There are no cracks on it, but I don't trust it. It's 24 years old. I think it's got to go. So I'm going to try to find a new spare for this thing, because I just don't think I feel comfortable sitting behind 60 pounds of air in a tire that's 25 years old. I do still have all the jack hardware. Again, never been, well, this has actually been used. You can tell. But the jack goes over here. There it is. I'll take that out and I'll clean it up. Here's the jack, the lug wrench, and I have the wheel key in there as well. You can actually buy, there's a complete trunk liner kit for this car. You know how it looks like somebody really scrubbed this with a scrub brush, and it kind of ruined the matting a little bit. I'm not going to worry about it, but if I wanted to, I can order an entire new trunk liner for this car. One of the reasons I went with this car is with the Miata is because they're so easy to get parts for. There are so many of these on the road. They've proven themselves to be a long-lasting, easy-to-service car. It's a rear-wheel drive, classic two-seat roadster, so they're a very popular car, which means that there's a really heavy aftermarket parts supply network that you can pick from. You know, everything from replacement vents for the dash to replacement seat covers to just little odds and ends, interior bits, and all these great things you can put in these cars to keep them going or to make them nicer. There's even, somebody actually sells a power door lock retrofit kit if you really wanted that feature with a remote and everything. Because these did not come from the factory in any trim level with remote power locks. Actually, no. I take that back. I think the R package had that. Was it the R or the... No, it was the M edition. The M edition had power door locks, but all the other trim levels did not. So let's take a look at some other cool stuff. But another reason I went for the first gen pop-up headlights. You got to have pop-up headlights. After owning a Nissan 300ZX, I kind of miss that. I really do. So here's the engine compartment. This is really one of the cleanest engine compartments I've ever laid eyes on. I mean, it still has an elastic from when they produced this master cylinder. This is from the factory that was put there, and that's still there. You look at the clutch master cylinder. I mean, it's still painted. Usually these get all completely corroded. The cylinder, the clutch fluid is completely disgusting. That has to be changed. We will be getting on that soon, and I'm going to have the brake system flushed out as well. But everything under this hood is clean and right and intact and not messed with and not modified and tuned. I mean, everything is exactly as it left the factory. I do need to do a timing belt, water pump, and a radiator. So I have everything I need to do that except for the radiator. That's the vendor that I bought it from did not ship it. They forgot to. So thanks, guys. But they were very apologetic about that. But this radiator doesn't leak or anything. Everything's fine. It's just that when these change color like that, it means they're getting ready to blow. So that needs to be swapped out. No oil leaks. There's one oil leak. There's one oil leak, and that is the camshaft position sensor O-ring is leaking. But when I do the timing belt, I'm going to take the valve cover off as well, and we're going to do that. We're also going to be doing the crank and camshaft seals as well. We're going to get it all done. I have everything on order. I'm not messing around. Everything's going to be done just right. But one thing that blows my mind about this engine is that even the vacuum lines are nice and supple. You know, they're not leaking, they're not cracked. The air filter that was in this car was 18 years old when I pulled it out, and it was still clean. I mean, it was dirty, but it was usable. So I put a new air filter in it. That was one of the first things I did. I just did the spark plugs and wires. I used all NGK components. It had what appeared to be Napa plug wires, but even those were from 2004. So I just went ahead and did the whole thing, plugs and wires. Yeah, when you go on road trips to random places, you buy random things. I bought a drum from the Mohawk Trail for my nephew. Anyway, so check this air filter out. Just to give you an idea as to how this car was not driven. This air filter doesn't look too bad. I mean, yeah, it could stand to be changed. I mean, it's actually still pretty see-through. But I had to change it because the seal is drying out on it. So that's not cool. Well, it all seems well and good and normal until you look at the production date on this filter. Check it out. Where is it? It was stamped on the side here. Oh, there it is. It's in yellow ink. It was made in March of 1999. That's the filter that was in the car when I got it. So, if that's any indication of how little driven this car was. As a matter of fact, this car had been sitting so long that the windshield washer fluid was no longer usable. I actually had to flush that out and put fresh washer fluid in because the stuff that was in there, it smelled kind of funny and it looked kind of pungent. So that's all been replaced. So it runs pretty smoothly. You can hear a bit of a bearing noise, and that's, I'm pretty sure it's the timing sensor. It's not anything major, I know that. Actually, you can't really hear it now. It sounds pretty normal, but like I said, that's getting swapped out anyway. The water pump, also getting replaced. But the lifters sound good. It's about as smooth as these suckers run. You know, I should probably check out this PCV valve. I bet you that's original. Probably change that out. I already drained the water, the power steering fluid. I swapped that out. What you do is you drain it, fill it up, run the steering rack lock to lock, drain it out again, refill it, and then it comes out. Now it's nice and bright red like it should be. There's not a speck of rust on or under this car. Let's take a look underneath. I think it has an exhaust leak though. Maybe not. see that, you know, okay, you got a little bit of surface rust in some spots, but that's like, come on, a brand new car is going to have that. I think it has the original exhaust. There's that Torsen limited slip diff. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to coat everything in oil underneath. I'm going to have it sprayed with mineral oil to protect it from any rust. But you look inside the quarter panels and they're nice and solid. Where these cars end up usually rusting is down inside here. What happens is the drain holes for the top tend to clog up and they fill with mud and stuff, and the water tends to build up. It winds up flowing into the rocker panels. It's not a good sign when that happens. That's when they really start to go to hell. So when I went out looking for a first-gen Miata, that was one of the things I was looking for. This one seemed to have clean holes, clean drain holes, and there was no evidence of really any water damage anywhere. Now to pull the top down on this car, you actually have to open the rear window, like so. You can put the top down without messing with the back window, but it's better for this window to be, yeah. There we go. I wouldn't really want a car with a power top because just more to go wrong. It just complicates things a little more than it has to. With a car this small, you don't need a power top. There we go. I've got the parade boot cover on the parcel shelf. I don't really use it. It's just a pain in the neck to deal with. You can actually lower the top from inside the car if you want to, but that means you have to keep the window in position. Oh, got grease on those. And then you close these, and that's how you take the top off. Let's get into the car and talk about some of its features and options. So, being a package C, it pretty much has, well, everything you could get, including the optional air conditioner. Yes, on the Miata, the AC was not a standard feature, well, actually in a lot of cars back in that period. The AC would have been a dealer installable option. But it has it, and yes, it works really well. This actually has very cold air conditioning, almost as good as my Hyundai Elantra, which is over 20 years newer. Actually, no, exactly 20 years newer. It has the MSSS stereo, the silver stereo, that is pretty coveted in Miata circles, especially those who like to keep original equipment installed. Unfortunately, the stereo does have some discoloration of the finish. Not much I can do about that, other than just let it be. It does have the optional, being a package C, of course, it does have the transducers mounted in the seat backs, which gives you nice low frequency response. It kind of thumps the back of your seat as you're driving along, including, of course, the headrest mounted speakers, and all four of them work pretty well. It does have cruise control, and that works very nicely. And this button here, this is your manual headlamp raise button. It has the world's smallest glove compartment and room for 1 or 2 pens, not much else. This is how you get to your fuel and trunk popper. Handbrake here, 5-speed manual transmission. Now this car, actually all Miatas, including the current generation, have a separate shifter turret which is mounted to the transmission case, and that requires additional service periodically. You actually have to remove the entire shifter and center console and suck the oil out of there and replace it. I did that on this car, and it shifts very nicely. But one of the common problems, if you happen to smell gear oil in your car, it's because the shifter boot and the seal below it are leaking. Now, gear oil is one of the worst smelling substances on planet Earth. So occasionally you'll get a whiff of gear oil, and it turns out the shifter boot is cracked on this car. So I have a new one on order. I'll be replacing that very soon. It's very easy to fix. You just take the center console off. It's 4 screws, and boom, you're done. And then you got to unbolt it. Power mirrors, and you've got one cigarette lighter. This was a smoker's car. The cigarette lighter that was in here was completely destroyed, so I threw it away. I'm using it to charge my phone anyway. Does have a glove box, of course. Now, again, being a type of car this was a low-cost automobile. This is a $20,000 car. It's equipped roughly $20,000. Today, this car sells for over $30,000 as equipped. So being the trim level that it was in '94 would be about a $30,000 car today. But back then, it didn't have things like a glove box light. There's no trunk light. There's really no unnecessary features. The Miata was not about luxury. The Miata is about driving and enjoying the driving experience. That's what these cars were built for. These were not built to pamper you and cater to your every need as you're driving through Manhattan. That's not what these cars are for. But that's great. That's why I like it. That's why I bought it. If you'll notice that this HVAC control panel looks very similar to the one used in the 94, 95, 93, I think, Ford Escort. But it's not the exact same part, because in the Ford Escort, the temperature control is down here and the vent position control is up here. I find that kind of bizarre, but it's very similar in every other way. And of course, this model has the door pockets, and there's also a pocket behind the passenger seat, which is very handy to store things. But there's not much storage to be found anywhere in this car. In fact, the trunk is so small, you can probably carry a couple of days worth of groceries, but not much else. This is the optional cup holder. This car would have come from the dealer with an ashtray here. It's a slide open ashtray. The cup holder was an option that was added probably after the fact. A lot of Miatas have flip-down boat-style cup holders mounted to the center tunnel. I'm glad that this one doesn't have that, because I think it really ruins, you know, the aesthetics of the car. Cutting holes into things to mount accessories is kind of a, you know, it's not something that I want to see in a car like this. I actually bought this because it didn't have any modifications, which is very nice. You can still buy these vents brand new. They simply pull out with a shoestring. You just pop a shoestring in there and fish it through, and there you go. They can be repaired. You can allegedly disassemble these units and add more felt to them, but I tried that and I couldn't get the this vent apart. There was just no way without ruining it. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably replace one vent a year until they're all done, and then deal with it, you know. I am getting burned right now. Oh my god. The sun is so powerful. Oh, this is a good car to burn yourself in, I'm telling you right now. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the interior. There's not much to see, but that's what makes the Miata so cool. Oh, one more thing. If this had the optional hardtop, which it's wired for, there would be a defroster switch here. If you have the optional hardtop or a soft top with a defroster rear window, and yes, you can buy them, this dummy plug pops out and there's a plug behind it for that switch. As a matter of fact, I don't think you can see it, but there is a plug back here just for that option. It's located right right on this side, there's a plug for that very reason. So, if you have the option, there it is. That's where it would be. Take a look at how clean this fuel filler door is. Normally that's pressurized. For some reason it's not. I gotta do something about lubricating this cable. It's getting kind of tough to pull that. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll pull that cable off right now, and I'm gonna put some lubricant in there. Water gets in here and it can ruin the cable and make it nice and stiff. These are the bolts that the hardtop would fit onto if it had one. I have no plans of putting a hardtop on this car. I've thought about it, but I'm like, yeah, that's not why I bought a soft top.